Good morning, everybody. It's Ann Katz of Ask Design. Welcome. Today's tutorial is Beginner's Guide to Gutenberg blocks. WordPress replaced the classic editor a few years ago with the Gutenberg block editor. I encourage you to start using it. The original classic editor behaves similarly to a word processing program. The words and images got placed inside one long continuous edit field. With Gutenberg, each type of content has its own block: heads, paragraphs, images, quotes, lists, etc. They all have their own type of block. It's a more modular system, very flexible and easy to style. In this tutorial, I'll introduce you to the basic Gutenberg blocks so that you'll be able to edit existing pages and posts and create new documents. Let's get a lay of the land. We'll get a sense of where everything is and how to find Gutenberg block-related features and options. At the top of a post or page, moving from right to left, you'll find icons for the options, the 3 vertical dots, settings, the gear, and list view, the 3 horizontal bars. Getting familiar with each of these will help you feel more comfortable in Gutenberg. When you create a new page or post, you have pretty much an empty slate. Let's go ahead and create a new page or a new post. You can do it either in the left sidebar or upstairs here, the Add New button. So you can see it prompts you to add the title, which is an H1 title. That's the largest title available. I'll come back to that later on in the tutorial. And you're also ready to go with a default paragraph block. But let's return back to the 3 items upstairs here. So the options with the 3 vertical dots, that shows you 2 things that are particularly important to us right now, the view and the editor. So the view tells you, okay, I can have the top toolbar upstairs here or not. Instead, when I click on the toolbar will float above the block. I can spotlight that so that as I go further into the document, the toolbar will float as it did before, but the other stuff on the page, whenever you click on it, it becomes highlighted. Otherwise, it's ghosted back. And then the full screen mode is the default. I'm not crazy about that because I'll show you why. When you deselect the full screen mode, you get the left sidebar. And in WordPress, it's pretty important to have a sense of where you are at all times. So I like that sidebar, and I usually deselect the full screen mode. The editor section lets you edit the entire post or page visually, which is what we're doing here now. I'm going to change the spotlight. I'm going to deselect that. Now you can combine these things, you may have noticed. But back to the editor section. It displays things somewhat accurately in terms of size and color. But if you're more adventurous, you can switch to the code editor and change things there, and you'll learn a lot. So this section will change the entire page or post into code. If you want to view the code for one block only, there's an option for that in the toolbar called Edit as HTML. By the way, you can go right back to Visual Editor right here, and we'll get back into that later on in the tutorial. The settings, which is the gear, offers you the choice of displaying or hiding the right sidebar. It toggles on and off, on, off, on, off. Click once to display, click again to hide. Very simple. And there are two tabs here. There's the post and the block. The post tab provides options that pertain to the entire post or page. And you can see what they are: status and visibility, publishing date, author, permalink, all those things, metadata, categories, even featured image. And sometimes, depending on the plugins, you'll have other areas that show up there. As far as the block is concerned, you may have already guessed, it concerns only the particular block that's currently selected. So if I deselect the block, in this case, it scooted back to the post. But if I click on the block tab, since nothing is selected, it tells me no block is selected. Now I select it, and suddenly we have certain things that show up. So they vary depending on the block. They're mostly related to styling, like color, size, and font. HTML anchors and CSS classes can be put in the advanced section at the bottom of the settings sidebar. And the last thing I want to show you about this whole navigation bar, sub-navigation bar, is the list view. This provides an outline of the content and a super helpful navigational tool. It's a visual representation of the parent-child, grandchild relationship of the Gutenberg blocks. I find it particularly useful when I need to find a specific block that's embedded inside another block. And like the settings gear, it's a toggle on-off switch, on, off. And here, just to give you an example, it brings you right to the specific block. Let's add a title, just add a title in the very top section. Every so often, I will save the draft. You can also preview in a new tab, choosing desktop, tablet, or mobile. I usually do a new tab. Now, it's important to know how to add blocks. Inside any block, if you hit the return key or the enter key, it will end the current block and generate a new empty paragraph block with the prompt type / to choose a block. If you want to stay in the current block, you hit Shift Return or Enter. Hovering below an active block will activate the Add Block Plus symbol or plus icon, and clicking on the plus icon opens a menu showing a pared down set of common blocks. So you can select one of these options or type in a keyword in the search field. So let's see, buttons. And even as I start, I don't have to type the entire word. I just type a B or BU and I see buttons listed there. Or you can just click Browse All to see the full list of blocks. And It stays with the BU at the top since I put that in the field, but otherwise you'll get a full list of the blocks. Now this is a plugin that I've got installed. You may not see that if you don't have Cadence blocks installed. Usually it starts with the common text-related blocks, and then it goes down to media, and then design, widgets, theme, embeds. And again, this is a plugin that I have installed that you may not have installed. Another way to add a block, so we've done a couple so far. Also, the plus symbol goes off to the right side there. You'll find it there. But no matter where you are in any page or post, this plus icon is always up there in the top left corner of the editing area. And it's a toggle, so it opens and closes just like so many of the other buttons. You can go directly to the symbol, click on it, and see that same list of all the blocks. Changes to an X when the list is displayed, and then reverts back to a plus symbol when the list is closed. Now, inserting blocks is pretty similar to adding blocks, yet it's a bit more flexible. You can insert before or after the current active block. So let's select this block and go to the three dots and insert before to get something. I'll just type this, insert before or insert after. I'm going to cover a few of the more common Gutenberg blocks. We've already been using the most common one, which is the default block, and that's the paragraph block. When you start typing without designating any kind of block, you'll be using the paragraph block. The toolbar that shows up once you start a block offers a standard set of formatting gizmos, and we'll get more into that later in the tutorial. The attributes that can be changed in the sidebar are a little bit more advanced than what you might find in the toolbar, and they include color for both the text and the background, typography, which is this, the size and the weight, structure. You can always reset everything. That's what these three dots do. Now you'll notice, even though I selected the second line, the background applies to the entire block. I'll reset all. Maybe if we make this text white and then the background purple, you'll be able to see it better. Let's save the draft. You also have the advanced section, again, for the anchor and classes. You can do, I think there's a drop cap here. Yeah, drop cap. So play around with it. Another really common block is the heading block. Click on the plus symbol, select heading. There are 6 levels of heads. The H1 head, as I mentioned, is the largest and should only be used for the main title, which is also the main heading. So that's reserved for H1. And as soon as you select the heading block, it defaults to the second level of head, the H2. You click on this, though, and you can see the whole list of heads. So if we do heading 2, here we go. As the numbers in the H tags increase, the size of the heading decreases. Well, let me show you what I mean. Gets gradually smaller. So H2 is the second largest, H3 the third largest, on and on until you get to H6. Which is the smallest. Save draft. Another really common block is the list block. It defaults to the unordered list, which are bullets. Your other option is a numbered list or ordered list. It's the same thing. And the style of the bullet is theme dependent. The default is a black circle. And you can always switch from one to the other. Now, if I want to get out of that list, I hit the return key a couple times to get into a new block option. If I select these, I can always change them to numbers or an ordered list. Another common block in Gutenberg are quotes. So you have regular quotes and then you have pull quotes. Let's do each of them. And the style depends on the theme. Go back and find that pull quote. You'll see the difference in the styling. So I think pull quotes come from the magazine days where you want to pull an especially interesting quote from the content and highlight it. So there are certain styling options that are available to you. And if you don't see what you want here, then it's time to learn some code. Obviously, images are a very commonly used block. So let's explore those. Surprisingly, it's not listed there, but we'll just type in image, get the usual image. The Gutenberg image block presents 3 ways to insert an image. You can upload it from your computer. You can choose one from the library that you've already uploaded, and you can insert from a URL. Now, the default alignment is none, but that can cause problems. So I advise that you choose one of the other alignments: left, center, or right. First, let's go to our media library and see what we've got here. Let's choose the celestial. There we go. So the size is off to the right in the block tab of the sidebar. You can resize it here. And then the alignment I'll use as center. You can always resize with these nodules, and then you can add a caption if you want. Now you can add a link, a hyperlink to the image. You could crop it. You could add text over the image. And then this duotone is a pretty cool feature. The original image in the media library will stay intact, so this doesn't affect the original, But you can do some pretty cool things just by experimenting. Some better than others. So you can have a lot of fun with that. And now for buttons. Good for call to action. A button with fill, that's the default. Or a button with outline, and that you have to change in the sidebar. Button with outline. And again, I mean, you can change the color of the text and color of the background. Let me see, I'm trying to find something I like. Okay. And same thing here with the outline. You can play around with the color. And the alignment, left, center, right, or add space between the items. So play around with all this stuff. The default is to align in the middle, but what if we said choose both of them, align at the top or align in the middle, and you'll see when you view on the front side what all of that does. Now there's another block I think is a really terrific block. It makes easy work of page layout and is very adjustable. And that's the columns block. You have all these options. So let's rebuild what we did here with the buttons. Let's rebuild it with a 50-50 block. Now, I can just drag that right inside, or maybe not, or just add it manually. Not sure why that happened. There you go. And another button. And we'll copy this. And when they're in a column, again, you can justify center, right, left. Let's try it with center for both of them. And you'll see what a difference that makes. These sit right next to each other, side by side, whereas the second set of buttons are pretty much equally distant from each other. And what's the other good thing about the columns block is you can build columns inside of other columns, and mobile responsiveness is built into the code. So when the page changes width, the columns adjust themselves accordingly, which is really, really important. And lastly, the final block I want to show you is the spacer block. And it's especially useful when you want to add space above or below a block. Generally, spacing is controlled by the theme and the style sheet. You could, of course, modify the style sheet, but the spacer block is a fast way to accomplish what you need without any fuss. The default height is 100 pixels, but you can easily adjust the height by dragging this up and down on the bottom, or going right here in the sidebar and placing a new number there. Okay. Really nice. So those are the really common blocks. And now for ways to use them. Here are some basic things that you can do with them. For more advanced styling, go to the Settings Block tab area. But basic styling is available in the toolbar. So again, we have the alignment. We have bold. We have italic. Hyperlinks. You can choose to open in a new tab. And type in your URL and then hit the submit arrow. There's this drop-down menu for other options, highlighting inline code and image. Experiment with all of those things. And then some of these items, which we'll get into as we continue along. For example, let's try to move this block. We have 3 ways to do it. We can click and drag. These a grid of 6 dots is your drag area. Easier than that are these arrows, move up and down. Or back to these 3 arrows and use the move to. A bar will appear above the block, and you can use the up and down arrows to move that bar, or click and drag it to its new position. So now we want to copy or duplicate a Gutenberg block. Let's select this head and first copy, which copies the block and its contents onto your clipboard, and then you paste anywhere you want in the current document or even on another page. So I'm copying it, and let's say I'm scrolling all the way down here. Insert before, and then paste it in. And then I have the heading that I copied right there. Duplicate is very similar. It duplicates it right below the current block. And then you can move it if you want. Edit as HTML. There are a lot of blocks, but sometimes you just need to use HTML code to tweak something or get it, just right. You should be familiar with code to use this correctly, but if you make a mistake, WordPress will prompt you to attempt block recovery. So it's all good. Situations where you would use the editor, the edit as HTML feature. Let's say you are styling a block with multiple classes and or IDs, and things are getting really complicated. You just want to use code to get it to be what you want it to be. If you're trying to embed a block within another highly stylized block, or if you're using code provided to you by a vendor or a developer. But let's keep it simple for now, and I'll show you what this looks like. There you go. So you'll learn a lot. There's the H2 HTML tag, and then heading 2 between the 2 tags, the begin and end tag. But let's say, we want to add a class. Let's see what happens. And you'll see it automatically adds it in. I've put it into the advanced section in the block tab, and it will automatically add it. Let's see if there you go. So what if the purple is not quite the correct color, and I want to do something else like style equals color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. Oops. Okay. Gutenberg doesn't like that so much. It will say attempt block recovery. So you go back to what it was. Removing blocks is just as important as knowing how to add them. So you select the block, and you could remove it the old-fashioned way by selecting its contents and hitting delete, or you could instead select the block you want to remove, click on the 3 dots, and go to the bottom of the series of options here and remove XYZ. In this case, remove heading. Bingo, we're done. And finally, you can, on occasion, select a block and change the type of block that it is. So if you don't want this to be a heading, you want it to be a paragraph, you can do that using the toolbar. You can transform it. Now, this is a limited feature and works only with a few blocks, but you can do it. You can click on that identifier symbol and see what the drop-down list of items provides, and then make your selection. And it would automatically change it, even though it says heading 2, change to a paragraph block, just so we're not confused. But, sometimes it doesn't work, and you may just need to add a new block and type in or copy and paste what you need there. And all along I've been saving draft, but if you're finally done creating your page or post and you want to publish, the publish button is right up there near the draft. So you click on the publish, you get the set of options. You want it to be public, private, or password protected. Make your selection. You can publish it right now or schedule it. And once you've decided what to do here, you click again. You click on that publish button on the pop-in checklist. And that, my friends, is the end of our tutorial of Beginner's Guide to Gutenberg Blocks. I'm glad you joined me today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them underneath, and I'm happy to respond. I hope you have a great day, and I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. Take care. Bye-bye.